Hello, welcome to Game Over Gerkinman. I'm Gerkinman, we're back with Metroid Prime, and welcome to what is probably going to be the longest episode in a while, because we've got quite a bit to do. Well, we don't really have quite a bit to do, we've got quite a ways to go. So, basically, we're done here, pretty much until the end of the game now. Oh jeez. We don't really have a lot of a reason to come back here again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut to where I do need to go, which is a little bit of a trek from here. So it's funny to pretty much start the episode off with a cut, but you know, this is where we left off last time, so I'll be back in a minute and we're going to go to an entirely new area, so I'm going to see you there. Okay, just a quick little thing. We're in an elevator room, which we got access to after we defeated Thardis a few episodes ago, and I came in here and I couldn't quite get what was up here because I didn't have the appropriate beam. But now I do, so before we go down this elevator here, which is why I came this way, if anyone's wondering, because it's kind of the long way, and so I can pick up what is in here, which I'll show you in a second. This is a shortcut back to this room. So there you go. That saves a lot of time once you do that. There's also an energy tank in there, which we can't get to yet, which kind of sucks. But anyway, that's just a little shortcut I thought I would show you guys. And now we're going to head back down to the elevator to Magmore as part of our trip to somewhere else. I'll be back in a jiffy. Alright, so we are back on the Talon overworld, and we are back in... Let's have a look-see here where we turn up. Can't remember, was there an item there? There was, but I already collected it. Let's see where we pop out here. This is the room with all the beetles. There's something about the ice beam. I haven't been using it a lot. While it's quite useful in a lot of combat situations, I find that its low firing rate makes it kind of... It's not ideal in a lot of ways. You also notice in the map there's like a red door up at the top part where I'm pointing up there. That is a room that we will get access to later on. We have one more beam that we need to get, and that one is the plasma beam, which is obviously a bit of a staple for the series. So that's something to look out for later, because we will definitely be returning to this room again. Let's take care of this guy like that. Boom. Now he's burnt up. Beautiful. So you might be like, well, hey, why are we here again? And if you're smart, and I know you are, all my viewers are smart. Here's an ironic, here's a little bit tidbit actually. I've been recording for 17 minutes, and what, this is probably like 1 minute's worth of actual playtime so far, because of the backtracking in this. So as I pointed out, there was that backtrack, there was that little shortcut that opened up. But I do wish the game had a few more of those. I'm just going to I don't need to restock my health, 68 is plenty. So, do you remember we came down here before and there was a little spot with space pirates that we couldn't really do anything about. You can see a little bit more clearly down in here now too. There's this little room through here with space pirates in it. They flew off into the sunset, and we couldn't do anything about it. And there was a crash site in the background, which was, of course, I can't remember if I said it or not, so I'll save it. But now that we have the gravity suit and we can do things underwater a little bit easier, this is exactly where we are going to be heading, because behind this little ship here is the next main area of the game. And the funny thing about this ship is too, it's kind of like, it is a genuinely interesting area to explore. But you only really traverse through it. There's no real reason to ever come back here unless you miss an item, which I probably will, because I don't remember where they all are in there. There's a missile pack in here. I think most of them are pretty straightforward from memory, because it's not really designed as an area to be traversed more than once. It's kind of... It opens up another area, which I think most people find it to be their least favorite area of the game. So even without the gravity suit, even getting through this part here is pretty much impossible. Like, I know there are glitch runners who can do it, but in general it's not possible to really get through here without it. You've got some more injured space pirates. Why would there be injured space pirates here? Well, because this is the Orpheon, the ship that we were on at the beginning of the game. I think I might have mentioned that in previous episode, but I'm mentioning it again just in case you forgot. So we come through here, and lo and behold, we're back inside. You might remember these tunnels from where we escaped earlier on. I really like the music in this part of the game too. It's pretty peaceful. We've got some new things to scan in here as well, some new life forms and things. I don't know why the fish never get scanned. They've got some ambient life that does get scans, and then the fish not so much. But the reason we needed the gravity suit aside from actually get here because of all the water is because this has actually crashed into a lake, so I would say probably over 2/3 of the ship are actually completely submerged in water, which obviously makes getting through it a little bit more difficult. Now, is this the best weapon for this? Evidently not, but changing there. I understand why they went with the weapon changing mechanism they did for this game, but it's nowhere near as practical as the system from the GameCube one. You could just flick the stick, but I guess there's no way around that with this controller since it only has... That door is taking a long time to open. Perhaps I need to destroy these. Oh, actually, no. We're going to use our new heat visor. There's a few of these puzzles in here where you have to power things now that the ship's completely disarmed. Also, sap sac. Chemical reaction within sac produces mild explosions when agitated. So you saw those outside. That's what I used to destroy that flower, but they're actually in the ship as well. And there's a second kind in here, which is ironically evolved just for living in wet environments. We've also got these guys. Talon crab, crustacean native to Talon 4, hard-shelled swarm lifeform. Once harvested for food, exposure to phazon has set this practice diminish. What? Creatures are timid and harmless alone, but can be a problem when traveling in swarms. So these are just like a lot of those other swarm creatures that, if you run through them, they just splatter on you a little bit and cause a tiny bit of damage, but not a real threat. Some of these little details, you got bubbles coming through and fish coming in here. Life really took over this ship very, very quickly. But you can get about this far into this area without the gravity suit, but after that you're going to have a bad time. So here we have the... Oops. This is a aqua pirate. Space pirates with exoskeletons modified for underwater use. Using modified thruster packs and gravity suit technology, the space pirates have armor suits for use in liquid environments. Thermal tracking is still very useful against these units, as the pirate engineers have yet to eliminate the thruster pack's high heat signatures. So using the heat visor actually makes these guys a little bit easier to fight, but I don't like fighting with it because it kind of makes it hard to see. And I think the wave beam tracks on them just fine. This is also the best area for like seeing Samus's face reflecting in the visor, which is one of those real touches. Like when this game was when it first came out, critics were always talking about where they included that. Like it made a huge, really put you in the role of Samus. Yeah, I remember getting up to here as a kid, actually, well not as a kid, but as a teenager, on my first playthrough, and I didn't have the gravity suit, and I got like not trapped in here, but I spent ages trying to jump around and thought the game was broken, but it just wasn't supposed to be here yet. I'm gonna bust out our thermal visor again because, like I said, there's a lot of these power terminal little puzzles here. Not so much puzzles, more like hide and seek, I suppose. Where's Wally's? Or where's Waldo's, depending on where you are in the world. Back home he was Wally, but I know over here in Canada and the United States he was Waldo, which is a name that you never really heard back in Australia. Okay, I've done that. Oh, also, because I didn't do any recording last week, I had a 4-day weekend and didn't do any recording, so this is my first time recording in a couple of weeks. We're getting sort of close to the end of the game now, so I'm looking forward to wrapping it up and uploading it. And then, of course, next will be, as promised months ago, Donkey Kong 64, which originally, I'll just talk about it while I'm jumping on these platforms. Originally, Jess was going to be sitting down with me on, but unfortunately, the game makes her incredibly motion sick because of the way that... And I kind of picked up on it too, the camera is really not that great. It spends a lot of time swinging around. And playing it on the Wii gamepad, the game has some really odd design choices from the first place, which I guess were limited to they were put in place due to the low number of buttons on the Nintendo 64 controller. It had a lot of buttons, but... Oh wait, that's where I came in, damn it. There's another door somewhere else I need to... Is it down here? Okay, that's where I need to go. I need to be up there. It'd be very easy to get kind of confused in these underwater environments. So, yeah, I've got so many things to try and talk about. Yeah, so I think we recorded 2 episodes, but I'm going to go back and start that again from the beginning. But that is the game that we'll be following up on this. Oh, I'm missing one? Please be somewhere convenient, right there. Doesn't get much more convenient than that. So I guess I should announce what other games will be happening. Also lined up for after Donkey Kong 64 is Portal 2, which I'll be playing blind, which is something that I won't be doing a lot of. I won't be doing many blind playthroughs of games at all. Or maybe I won't be blind, maybe I'll play through it first and then I'll play through it, but that'll be for Ian, because he gave me the game which I've spoken about before, and also Mark's visiting us in July, and I'm going to be playing through the first-person shooter Prey with Mark. So just like we did the Star Wars together, we'll be doing Prey together. He's going to be here for 2 weeks. And Prey is a game that we are very, very, very big fans of. And it's kind of a forgotten gem from the last generation, so we really want to do a playthrough of that game, because we think it deserves more recognition than it got. I really enjoy first-person shooters, but I don't think many are well-suited to Let's Plays particularly. But that is definitely one that I think will work well, especially with Mark there to talk about, because there's a lot of interesting mechanics in that game. What the fuck? I've forgotten what I need to do. Oh, I just needed to wait for it to load. It was loading all that time. There we go. We've got an energy tank in here. Nice and easy. Like I said, there are things hidden in this ship, but a lot of them are... It's a very linear sort of area, so they're pretty easy to find. Which is why it's not really an area that I ever really remember needing to backtrack to. Maybe if I'm going for 100% and I forgot something, but other than that... There's a lot of care put into here too, especially for an area that you only go through once. Some might say there's actually a little bit more care put into here than some of the areas that we return to multiple times, but that could just be because it's a broken ship. But I do like the way they've got all these floating platforms in here, and to try to make them make sense in the context of the environment, they just have them floating. Speaking of floating, there's a space pirate just floating here in the water. He must be dead. Ugh. Gotta get up and out. There we go. So as I mentioned too, there was one room earlier in the game where the ground was on a slant, and that was like a big deal. And that's the fact this whole ship is kind of crooked like this is actually one of the most technically impressive things about the game. The technology... Oh, that... I always forget about that. The technology that I don't know how it works exactly, but something to do with the way that the geometry is rendered in order to actually get that effect is... According to what Nintendo and Retro Studios have always said, is incredibly impressive and important and a massive deal. Now I get to jump my way all the way back up there again. So you can see why I said this episode was going to be a long one. And this isn't even the only area we're going to today. We've got a lot of ground to cover. This episode, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being an hour or more long. I'd say it's probably the single longest section of the game without any upgrades or anything that you unlock. Quite possibly also one of the most heavy in terms of... Actually, I forgot to scan this guy too. Oops. We give him a scan. Oh, I did scan him. That's the same as was where I got the gravity suit. Well then, never mind. And I just mistimed my jump and fell. Oi! As you can see, it can be a little bit tricky platforming in here. I don't really hold it against the game. I think it kind of makes sense in this particular environment, and it doesn't really bother me at all. If it was a lesser game, I'd be fucking furious. But this is not a lesser game. This game is amazing and one of the best things ever made, in my opinion. But yes, so Prey, Portal 2, Donkey Kong 64 next. I'm always thinking of other games I'd like to Let's Play. I got plenty of ideas. I'm just talking about them because there's not really a whole lot to talk about in this particular part here. Other than, oh, actually, this room's kind of interesting. This is the room where, if you remember from episode 1, there was like Phazon everywhere and there are all these creatures locked up. This is that room, so this is where they were storing the Phazon originally. You can see that from that storage you've got, these were all the animals were all like locked up in here that we were scanning in that first episode. Yeah, just kind of cool the way they did that, I think. Is this a different drone? Yes, Aqua Drone. Security mecha adapted for use in underwater areas. The space pirates have adapted a number of sentry drones for use in liquid environments. These Aqua Drones utilize an arsenal of artificial intelligence suits similar to the Cousins. The pirates have been unable to properly shield these drones from electrical attacks, making them vulnerable to wave beam. Thanks for spelling it out for me. Although why they managed to make them for this shipwreck, I don't know. Perhaps they already had Aqua Drones on the ship, and they've just kind of been released since it's crashed. Who can say? What I can say is I'm going to do the smart thing and actually check for these things before I do anything, and lo and behold, there is one. I can also hear an item nearby. I would assume it's a missile pod, and I'm going to assume I have to shoot one of these. Oops. Oops. Stuff that up again. Okay, it's a little too hard to see and jump sometimes in the dark. Oh, that's why I need to jump up in here. Here we go, okay. That one, and there was another one around here, I believe. Yes. Perfect. Now I just need to find that missile pod. In terms of like the time that I spent backtracking to get here, I will say sometimes it feels like there could be more shortcuts. I'm not annoyed by the backtracking like some people are, but I do think some of it could have been streamlined just a little bit. They could have had more little shortcuts around in the environment. Now one of these definitely has an... Here we go. Door structure integrity below safety tolerances. Well then. Oh, maybe I need to use one of these. Boom. Missile pad. So 120 missiles now. Not bad, not bad. Certainly not what most people who would 100% this game would be happy with at this point of the game, but I'm happy enough with it, and I'm the one that counts. Yeah, there are lots of games I would like to Let's Play. As I said, like, these are coming a little bit more sporadic. I don't know if I'll use this format again. Like, it seemed like a good idea at the time, but there was a big gap between releases. But maybe because I have so many episodes of this lined up, it won't be so bad next time. Especially if I go straight into Donkey Kong 64 after this in terms of recording. So we'll see what happens there, but I will say, I'm not looking forward to Donkey Kong 64. I was kind of joking when I said it, but now that people have made little intro animations, I feel like I have to do it. I don't know that it's going to be a very exciting game to Let's Play. I guess there's plenty for me to complain about in it. This is another really slanted environment, which is pretty cool. And we have to just scan some more of it. Shoot some more of these things. Give me that health, yo. I do like the way they use the thermal visor for a little bit of this sort of like item hunting though. I think it's a cool use for it along with the combat utility. The game does a really good job of making things useful both in combat and for puzzle solving and exploration. Like, it's got a really good balance that way, which I very much appreciate. So you might recognize this room because there was that giant thing here. So this is where one of the giant parasite queens was being holed up before everything went to shit. And now I can come in here. Something that there isn't in this area, and I don't think it's a spoiler, So there's no boss in here, and I do wonder if at some point in development there was originally supposed to be a boss in this part of the game, but they just ended up getting rid of the idea. Now that's a different kind of sack. This is a water sack. Aqua sack, sorry. Will burst when subjected to impact or trauma, believed to be in the same family as the sap sack. This plant has similar features. It will burst when exposed to force. This protective response keeps most creatures from feeding on it. So it's pretty much the same thing as the other one. And by pretty much I mean it's exactly the same. There's just no real explosion, it just breaks apart, so you can't even really kill anything with it. Now, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything in here. No. Jolly good. And nothing in here. But ventilation shaft. This is kind of cool the way the gravity works here. Okay, this one's a little tricky. Kind of. To get all the way up there can be quite the challenge. There's another item up there which we obviously want. Oh, it was so close. I kind of forgot how high I had to be. I want that energy tank. Come on. Yes. Nice and easy. That's a really good hiding spot. I really like that. I love the way the game's full of these. So in terms of like other games I'd like to let's play, I would love to do the 2 Paper Mario games. I don't have the Wii one. Maybe that one as well. I've never actually finished the Wii one, but definitely now that the Nintendo 64 one is out on the Virtual Console, I would love to play through that. Actually just downloaded that this morning. And 1000 Year Door, of course, on the GameCube, which is one of my favorite games on the GameCube. I've never actually finished the Nintendo 64 one, so I want to play through that first so I know exactly where everything is and I have more to talk about. But that is definitely 2 games I would love to do just because I think those 2 games are phenomenal and they're 2 of my favorite RPGs. And that's it, by the way, we're done in the Orpheon now. Never need to go back again, and I think we got all the items. I probably didn't. But now we're at this great tree. Now there's a door down there we can go down. And I'm not sure where that goes. And there's... Oh, okay. I didn't know where we're... Okay, so if we come up here, we can unlock this door. So earlier on we've had access to this room before, and if you're wondering which room it is, I will come up here so you can see. We're back in the giant tree room where we've been in once or twice. So there's different places you can access from up here, but we just wanted to come up here so we could unlock this little spot down here. So there's elevators here to a number of different places. I think we want to use the one that's down here though. So the whole point of coming down here was to unlock this particular area. You go to the Orpheon so you can unlock the this door here. Now there is an item in here as well, which you can kind of hear. Oh, okay. No, it's not. I thought there was a... Oh, shit. That Phazon is hella dangerous. Oh, yeah, that's what real proper Phazon looks like. So that might give you a bit of an idea of exactly where we are going. And if that isn't enough of an indication, perhaps the fact that that just says Phazon Mines East will give you a bit more of an indication as to where we're going. That's right, folks, we're heading to the Phazon Mines. So prepare for reading and lots of brown. It's an area that I'm not overly fond of, but it's also mine, so I wouldn't imagine many people would be. I don't think it's an area that's supposed to be fun and exciting visually like the rest of it, but it's very important to the narrative. And there's definitely some cool items that you get in this particular place. So all that to get to this area. Now normally I guess I could call this... I could make that the episode, so the Orpheon was the episode, but I kind of do want to get an item an episode generally. I don't feel like getting to a new location necessarily warrants being a full episode. So we're going to get the first item for this area, which is a little bit of a trek still. I'm going to meet some new enemies on the way. And we're getting absolutely hammered by these things, so I'm going to go up here, and there's a save point up here just to get some health back. Because we're about to be in a couple of fights. I like the fact they're trying to keep me out of this save point. Like, you can't stop me, guys. I'm too hardcore for you! I was originally thinking of actually replaying, doing a playthrough of the Mass Effect games, but I'm playing through Mass Effect 1 now just to refresh my memory, and have decided that would be a terrible game to do a Let's Play of. And while I didn't do a Let's Play of the original Oblivion like I was planning, I may do one of the Shivering Isles because it's shorter and it's actually much more interesting. I just finished getting all 1,000 achievements for Oblivion. And I honestly believe that Shivering Isles is actually much better and much more interesting than the core game. Which is why I might end up doing that when I download it later on. But I have 1,000,001 things I want to download and play through. Finding the time to do it all, of course, is the thing. And of course I'm still using my work machine to do this. I'm trying to get enough freelance work to be able to buy like a new PC, not only for doing Let's Plays and stuff, but for one thing I'd like to start streaming myself playing games more. I might even abandon the Let's Play format in favour of streaming and just record my streams and upload those for people who miss them. That's something I'm thinking of doing, but I'd like to be able to stream like my animation and things. And in general, like doing After Effects and stuff on my little MacBook Pro for work is getting a little hard. These guys are no big deal. They're pretty bad. That guy was just hiding in there, I guess, waiting for someone to come along. It's a pretty shitty job for that guy. Alright, now I need to get up here, and I've forgotten how to do that. There should be a way of getting up there that I've completely forgotten about. Oh, well, we get to come back out here again later anyway. Ow! And my back's starting to get a little bit sore. This catch that we got isn't the best. Unfortunately, it looks good in the pictures, but it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. Sadly. Still, making it work. Let's take out these guys. Oh, I can hear... What's the deal with this? Tractantarium Benzium gate is low. Well, I think I know what to do about that. Blammo! Oh. I didn't do anything. I guess there's another item that I need. I wonder what it could be. This is kind of funny. So I just blew up those guys. I could have just scanned that and that would have disabled them. I'm going to move so my back stops hurting. There we go. So we're going to run into some new enemies in here, I believe, very, very soon. Oh wait, no, we're dealing with these guys again. Stealth pirates first. I believe they get replaced later on in the game with another enemy. So you come through here a couple of times. It's a Metroid Prime game, so of course we go through things a number of times. There was one more of them. Where'd he go? I know he's here somewhere. There he is. They do, the transparency effects on those guys do look pretty good. So there's a thing in there too, which we can't get into yet, with a little fire door there. Yeah, this environment's just, because it is industrial, I suppose, it just hasn't got that level of excitement or anything. That feeling of like alienness or newness that other environments do. Okay. Alright, so here we have a proper new enemy. We'll be seeing a lot more of these guys later on. So what have we got here? This is a Wave Trooper. Space pirates armed with wave beam technology. Space pirates have reverse engineered several of your weapons, including the wave beam. A flaw in the design makes these pirates vulnerable to their own beam weapon system. These weapons are inferior to your Chozo-designed originals, but still quite potent. So these guys, there's 4 of them. Obviously, there's one for the wave beam, which we're fighting now. There's one for the ice beam, who's the easiest, and there's one for the power beam, who can be a bit of a pain in the ass. Super missiles clean them up pretty quickly, but standard beam type takes a while to kill them. But these guys are added to the game. And something you'll notice too is like how all the space pirates look very different, not just in this game, but game to game. And the reason for that is you never actually see what the space pirates look like when they're not inside their suits. Like, they wear these big exoskeletons, and that's all you ever really see. So that's why they always look different from game to game, which is kind of like a neat way of explaining it. The ones in Metroid Prime 2 Echoes look much more like the ones from Super Metroid, I feel. How do I get through here? Forgotten. Benzium Blast Gate. Alright, well, there's a new item I need for that too. Well, there's Benzium everywhere. And another Shadow Trooper. Nice and easy. So you notice there's like Phazon everywhere in here. Obviously plenty here for the guys to be managing. It's a good reason to set up mines. Although they've done a good job of setting it up in a very short amount of time. I'll give them credit for that. I do wish it didn't force you to switch beam types so much. I wish, like, if you opened a beam door once with that weapon, it just turned into a regular door at that point, because it's like, you've already opened it once, that means that you've got the right beam. You shouldn't have to switch every single time. That's one of the very, very, very few complaints I have with the game. Very few complaints. This thing is also interesting. What do we got here? What is this? Looks like some kind of giant Phazon creature. Let's investigate. Recommended battle systems for elite pirates are as follows: shoulder-mounted plasma artillery cannon, propulsion shield, wavequake projector, energy siphon system, and retractable wrist bayonets. Space pirates encrypted data decoded. Initial Project Helix experiments with space pirate embryos were disastrous. The Phazon fusion process degeneration brain tissue, even as it augmented muscle mass. None of what we have termed elite pirates lived to maturity. The few have survived, and the infanthood suffered severe psychotic breakdowns as juveniles, killing anything within their zone of perception. Research team Sclero made a recent breakthrough in which parasite studies with a Phazon strain code named Vertigo were highly successful. Since then, we have successfully fused Vertigo Phazon with space pirate DNA with great success. The latest batch of elite pirates have reached maturity successfully and are ready for field testing and training. So they're trying to infuse Phazon, which I believe came up in one of the earlier areas, trying to infuse Phazon with the space pirates to create super soldiers. Platform systems active. Well, that isn't a interesting lore piece, that's just opening it. It's just turning on an elevator. Which it sounds like some people didn't like. Okay, so now I can scan this. Identified code EPG8642, badge 23, field designation, Elite Pirate Alpha, stasis tank, hull reinforced with benzium alloy plates. So that is another destructible thing. Why'd you want to destroy that and get him out of there, though? That seems like a crazy thing to do. And that's correct. It is a crazy thing to do. But Samus is cray-cray. So that's kind of cool to actually have this shield that comes up to protect themselves. It comes up out of the floor. Clever guys covering their asses. I can totally own these guys actually with the wave buster that I have, but I don't really want to waste my missile ammunition. Not on these suckers. And what have we got here? Platform to Vathia, we can get up high. You can also hear that there is a item nearby. Well, I can hear it. It might be too quiet for you guys. I never know what you can and can't hear through the... Oh, maybe it's not on this level, though. Okay, so this is one of the power troopers. So I'm going to get a scan on this guy. Space pirate armed with power beam technology. Space pirates have reverse engineered several of your weapons, blah blah blah, including power beam. Same stuff as the wave one, except now with the power guy. And one hit with that takes him out. And we've Also got a computer terminal here. What's this saying to us? Attention all units, report to your battle stations. Failure to comply with this order is an act of treason. Treason is punishable by termination. I believe this is a industrial pulse beam online auto-firing mode engaged. So here's a giant laser, and we're going to destroy all of these. So that one's already been destroyed. There's nothing exciting in here. Interestingly, the way this is controlled is by getting into a morph ball, doing that, which seems like the least practical way of controlling a drill, possibly in the history of the universe. So that's the door we need to head in, but we heard an item earlier, so let's work out whereabouts that is in here. It is a little frustrating having to do this over and over again, but whatever. Things could be worse. It's funny from here, like it doesn't even look like a laser, it looks like a giant like minigun or something. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Kaboom! Also, I'm going to have my friend Paul from Australia. He should be arriving here in the next couple of months. And I'm going to start doing Let's Plays with him as well. So, if I end up doing Dark Souls and some games like that, I believe that is something that he would most likely... Actually, is there a thing here? Be sitting in on... Okay, no, I need to keep it spinning. I do not want to shoot me with it. That would be painful, I imagine. Ooh. It'll be good to have some other people in on the show. That's not just me talking to myself. Okay, here we go. How is everyone anyway? Is everyone enjoying themselves? Enjoying the series in general so far? I hope people are enjoying it. Missile expansion. So that's one of the items, I believe. Was there another one? Nope, all of that just for a missile expansion. And I really need to go to the bathroom. Oh. You're supposed to take a slow down there, but I guess it's just as easy to just kamikaze your way down. Hope for the best. This is a very important room that we'll be returning to multiple times. And I'll explain why once I've taken care of these guys. And this is why you want all those missiles, because fighting these guys will soak them up. Okay, so here we have this giant pillar in the middle here with all these connectors, things that connect, and you can kind of keep track of what's happening with this thing here. What you want to do is come in here and we'll start with the small stuff. We'll turn this guy here on. Oops, I don't know why I got out of morph ball and I need to come up here. And I really need some health. I won't lie. Alright, and then there's this one up here. So we need to get up to the next floor up, and then reconnect the bottom to the top. You know, I never actually realized that you could see the this little thing here on the side here on the GameCube. Like, it never stood out to me, but you can actually keep track of if all your things are looping and connecting with that. And I feel like an idiot for years not actually recognizing that that was there. Or that it moved. I thought it was just like a static element. But as you can see there with the red, you can kind of keep track of where it is, and once that's lined up like that... Like, I used to do this all by trial and error and just never knew that that was there. Which is crazy retarded. Oops, did I go past the red one? I did. That's yellow. There we go. Alright, second floor it is. The music for the Phaser Mines also isn't particularly inspiring. I guess like it's supposed to be an industrial and pretty ambient area, but it's still a little boring. Oh wait, Wave Trooper. Take that in the face, like that. He took it like a champ. Can't hate him for that. And here we have more of these guys. Obviously a bucket of fun. Whoop. Back to the ice beam. And we're going down even further into the mines. So you can see it's kind of like the crater. We're into like near the crater now. This is you can see this from outside. It's that ceiling window. So it's a pretty huge crater, and it's pretty cool that they included that, so you could actually kind of give you a bit of a spatial relation to spatial awareness as to where you are in the environment. Also, I believe, yes. I love the way that happens. If you blow that up to get this missile expansion, the explosion causes a hidden space part to fall out. Like, that's a really, really clever little detail, I think. Pretty cool. I wish there's not too many little things like that in the game, but the ones that are there, I guess, stand out all the more for it. Alright, so what's this place? Oh my god! Elite Pirate, Phazon Enhanced Space Pirate, incredibly strong, armored, and well armed. Elite Pirates are potent foes. Their energy siphon systems absorb speed weapon shots. The nature of this system makes them vulnerable to concussion-based weapons. Well armed, the Elite Pirate is effective in close combat and at a distance. Massive size can be a weakness, and their sluggish speed allows for evasion and quick attacks. So your best weapon with this guy is this dude here. And you just kind of want to shoot him in the head, which is easy enough to do. And when he puts his hand up like that, you basically can't do a whole lot. The other thing you can do is, such as when he does that, you want to try to avoid that. You can actually destroy this thing on his back here too, which is one of his key weapons. But they're really not all that hard. You just got to try to avoid them when they're putting their hand up like that, and just kind of keep track of them. They're not particularly difficult. They're not actually boss battles. Like, they're a standard enemy, which is, I guess, one of the cooler things about them. I think they make a return in Prime Echoes as well from memory. Like a handful of them, but I don't quite remember. But yeah, now you can see the full effects of what using Phazon on these guys has done to them. Alright, so I'm going to take a very quick break because I need to go to the bathroom, so be right back. And I'm back. That's what happens when you have a big coffee before you sit down to record. Alright, now, so, a shipment of military-grade plasma artillery cannons is en route to Talon 4. The Aganoid Star Marines were acquired... We acquired them from. We're letting them sit in a warehouse. Our elite pirates, on the other hand, will put them to good use very soon. So they stole those big cannons on their shoulders. New pirate data. Investigations into a possible ingress point for the impact crater continue to meet with failure. The shield of strange energy that protects it is impermeable, and all attempts to tunnel past it have proven fruitless. Our continued futility in this matter is made all the more significant in light of the recent lifeform readings. We've discovered emanating from deep within the crater. Analysis of the readings indicates that a massive creature is gestating there, absorbing enormous amounts of Phazon from the Phazon core at the heart of the impact crater. The discovery makes accessibility of the crater doubly important. Not only will it open the door to the vast deposits of Phazon within, but it will also lead us to this creature, whatever it might be. So there's something huge living inside the crater, which I think I've brought up before. Here's another pirate data. Zebes, the alert concerns bioforms same as Aaron, also known as the Hunter. Subject is a female hominid and is heavily armed and extremely dangerous. Subject uses a powerful armored suit of unknown design in battle, along with a number of potent beam and concussive weapons. All combat units are instructed to terminate Aaron on sight, preferably in a fashion that will allow salvage of her powered armor suit and weapons. A considerable bounty will go to the unit who delivers Aaron to command. Dead or alive, it matters not. So they're actually setting all this stuff up while the original Metroid was happening, so I like the fact that this is tied to the game in that way. Okay, so we can either go through here, which I don't actually remember what's in here. I guess I should check. Oh, there's a little pipe. Oh, I can't open that yet. So that is once again another thing of like, hey, there's a certain item you need in order to get through here. Anyway, we've also got these little things here to read. Things to read everywhere. Bioform Samus Aran continues to assault our holdings on Talon 4. Security has been compromised in multiple areas. Casualty rates are rising. Commanders authorized a sizable bounty for the capture or termination of Aran. Report to your field officers for details. And I think these guys are coming down. Oh, this is our first time fighting Ice Troopers. So these ones are my favorite simply because if I can fucking hit it, they just freeze. It only takes 2 shots and they're dead. Which is cool for me. I like that. What else we got here? Security level Tau will be in effect until further notice. All leaves cancelled, granting downgrade of alert status. I can't read. Consumption of elite nutrient mix by non-elite units is strictly prohibited. Failure to comply will result in a 50% ration reduction for a decacycle. That's hilarious. If you get caught in the elite pirate's food, you get punished, which is kind of hilarious. Science team is attempting to reverse engineer Samus Aran's arsenal based off of data acquired from her assault on our forces. Progress is slow but steady. Command would daily enjoy turning Aran's weapons against her. We believe we can implement beam weapon prototypes in 3 cycles. Aran's power suit technology remains a mystery, especially the curious morph ball function. All attempts to duplicating it have ended in disaster. 4 test subjects were horribly broken and twisted when they engaged in morph ball prototypes. Science team wisely decided to move on afterwards. So that's hilarious that they were trying to replicate my morph ball, and all they did was like absolutely just mangle the troops that they experimented on. So that's a fun little detail. All right, you're the last one. Come on. But yeah, as I said, it's not the most visually engaging area in the game, that's for certain. Evaluation of plasma artillery cannons is complete. The weapons are fully functional, but a flaw has been discovered. Subpar thermal shielding gives them a high heat signature. This could make them easy to target for enemies with enhanced vision capabilities. So yeah, anything with heat is not so good when facing me. Bioform Samus Aran has cracked our systems. The Hunter can access our systems at will and is able to bypass most of our security programs. Use manual locking systems when possible, which I guess is what the doors are. I'm not sure. Facility commands request for elite pirate transfer to security forces granted. Prepare White's EPG 8644 and EPG 8656 for field duty at once. So I believe those are the 2 elite pirates that we fight. Metroid aggression levels are rising. Be alert for any attempts by Metroids to escape from quarantine areas. Their energy absorption ability is not able to disrupt our force fields, but continued exposure to Phazon may change things for the worse. So they actually have Metroids here in the Phazon areas, which is something that we'll come into very soon. Reports on Hunter activity are in. Analysis indicates that the Hunter is using morph ball technology to infiltrate our facilities. Recalibrate sensors to search for morph ball energy signatures. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess they're just looking for me. Man, look at all these computers to read. So much lore in this environment. Got some red ones over there, and what's this one say? Force field engaged, deactivate required for access. Well, no shit, Sherlock. New pirate lore. Results are in from field studies on the bioform group Chozo, who we believe are extinct. We believe that the Talon 4 was once a stronghold in the Great Chozo Empire, brought low by the meteor strike. Planetary devastation brought an end to the Chozo, yet remnants of their society remain. We are studying these relics in an attempt to harness their power. What is of no use to us, we destroy. In time, we shall have all we need from this dead race and shall wipe this planet clean of their ugly ruins. The dead should serve the living, not hinder them. So I think they're also being affected by the ghosts. Space, blah, blah. Although we're still no closer to finding the artifacts of the Chozo, we have at least produced a viable hypothesis for their function. It appears that each of these artifacts corresponds to one of the statues of on the temple platform, and that each one acts as a small key to a huge lock. Judging by the number of statues, we assume there must be 12 artifacts. Once we find the resting spots of all 12, we can bring them here, unite them with their statues, and open the gate systems at long last. Once we do, the impact crater and whatever creature it shelters will be ours for the taking. So they're on the case. They're looking for these things too. Phazon-infused fungal harvesting continues. Replacement of Deca Tricycle with Tritical. I don't know. If Phazon-infused fungal matters in elite ration mix has been authorized. So obviously this is the last real area where there's any real lore is inside these mines. After this, it's pretty much smooth sailing and less reading. Security requests deployment of elite pirates in Metroid quarantine areas. The high casualties suffered by standard pirate units deployed in Metroid areas is not acceptable. Once again, having issues with the Metroids and things. Reconfiguration of security drones authorized. Deploy new drones to mission critical areas immediately. So that's why we're getting so many security drones flying around now. Force field offline, access granted. Well, that's not a law. That's just turning that off. We have come to another dead end. It is clear now that we will never discover the locations of the Chozo artifacts until we can decipher the messages carved into the statues in this abominable temple. Our language databases are woefully inadequate, and our linguistic analytics analysts can come up with more than vague theories. The best hypothesis that we can offer is that finding artifacts will require items spiritually linked to the Chozo civilization. However, without these items, we are lost, and Command grows more impatient by the day. Results must be produced soon. Oh, space pirates having a bad time. There have been numerous incidents involving spectral entities at Chozo ruin sites. Several personnel have been assaulted by these Chozo ghosts, and few have survived. Survivors speak of swift attacks from nowhere, brief sightings of the enemy, then nothing, only to be followed by another attack. Science team believes these attacks are in response to our efforts to recover Chozo relics and artifacts. Somehow these entities are able to interact with the physical world, and it appears that they wish to keep their artifacts to themselves. We will make them pay for such arrogance, for even ghosts can be destroyed. So I think that's hilarious that the ghosts are attacking the space pirates, and they're mad about it. Report any signs of rejection by elites at once. Well, that sounds like good advice. Increased phase-on portion of elite pirates ratchet by 18%. So there's a lot of stuff about the elite pirates in here. The temple that hovers near them, we are now completely certain that the containment field denying access to the impact crater is linked to strange artifacts that belong to this temple, but we are no closer to finding them or deciphering the riddles that seem to cover every wall and this ruins this place. Command grows increasingly anxious for a resolution to this matter, so we must redouble our efforts. X-ray squadrons will begin terrain sweeps within days. Until they begin, patrols are instructed to report any and all architectural anomalies to their commanders. This is the last one. Second last one. Planetary stealth technology is back online. We have evaded detection by the battle cruisers Emmons. The brief lapse in planetary security caused by the crash of our frigate is over. Now we can concentrate our efforts on the Hunter. So they're trying to be super secretive from the galactic thing, government, whatever. Replacement of standard hatch covers continues. Steel covers will be replaced with cordite and benzium covers and 2-day decker cycles. So that's important because benzium is a particularly, as we've noticed, there's been quite a few things in this area which were made of benzium, and I couldn't damage them. So that's kind of why that one's important. They're obviously trying to activate all that stuff in preparation of me coming. So there's a health tank in there. How do we get that? Uh-oh. Well, can't do much about that for now. Let's just get out of that room. That shit's bad for your health, bro. More computers. Increased aggression levels observed in latest elite pirate units, increasing phase-on feed by 0.0% per science team mandate. Okay, so the elite pirates getting a bit unruly. Metroid activity is accelerating in non-frigid areas. So they brought some Metroids into some not so cool places, which isn't a great idea. Metroids from the initial batch have matured to Hunter phase. Be advised that the Hunter Metroid has a siphon tentacle they can attack with from a distance, as opposed to the close combat tactics of the younger Metroid. So we've actually run into some Hunters, and they weren't too much of a bother. But obviously the space pirates kind of disagree a little bit. Speaking of space pirates, some more wave beam dudes. Zero threat. Too hardcore for you, son. And we've got some wave beam guys down here, lots of wave beams, some power beam guys down here as well. So instead of wasting missiles on them, fuck it, I'll waste some missiles on them. I love the way it just absolutely blasts them. So you can use a standard power beam, but it takes quite a few hits to take them out, because it's, even though it's the most powerful, I guess these guys have like the highest defense as well, which is why the power missiles work so well. The force field on flying, and another one of these guys. This guy's actually in pretty good nick, which isn't a good thing. Out of my way, son. Ain't nobody got time for that. Alright, I've got some more computers to read. Lots of reading this episode. Sorry if this is getting a little bit long for some people, but it'll all be over soon. Cryopod damage, immediate maintenance required. Well, that's not a good thing. Our enemies will tremble before the might of our elite forces. Well, I haven't trembled yet. Unauthorized Metroid feeding is strictly prohibited. Which seems like good advice. Death to the hunter, death to all who oppose us. Well, I guess they're a little bit butthurt about Zeebs. Elite Pirates Upsilon's propensity for Phazon has enabled our research team to infuse it far beyond our safety restrictions, and the results have been extremely encouraging. Its constant Phazon diet has increased its mass exponentially, but it has retained all mental faculties and shows dexterity with all elite weaponry, including plasma incendiary launchers and the chameleon manta issued for cloaking purposes. Elite Pirate Upsilon exhibits miraculous healing abilities. When injured, it seeks out Phazon deposits and coats itself in the substance, which instantly mends the creature's wounds. The subject, which we are codenaming Omega Pirate based on these developments, shows potential to be a new standard for our armies. Our only concern at this point is its potential overdependence on Phazon. So that is very, very important. That's talking about another Elite Pirate, but this one's very special, and we'll be having a run-in with him later on. Test results from battle simulation summits are promising. Elite units report a 74% success ratio against Aaron in testing. High Command is pleased, but expects a higher ratio by projects end. So they're doing simulated battles against me or something? Increased bomber patrols in authorized areas. So the Space Pirates actually brought the bombers in. They're not a native to Talon 4, and I think that's kind of interesting. Scramble all aerial units immediately. Flight pattern Sigma 4 is in effect. Well, I don't know what that's all about. Space, blah blah. Just another Elite Pirate. No one really cares about you. That's pretty much it for this room. Let's keep moving on. Gotta keep on moving on. Oh, there's another Elite Pirate here. Cryo Sleep Tank unit something. Whoops. Unit modified for Elite Pirate storage. So I actually have them. I think this is kind of cool the way they're in there actually with Phazon to keep them going, which is pretty neat. Nothing exciting here. So this is our final room for the day, so we'll be wrapping up our episode in here. Thank fuck, I hear you say. This was a long one. Phazon processing and security systems are taxing the dynamo beyond safety tolerance. Although these conversion to geothermal power is easing the drain on our systems, it is not enough. Further power use at current levels could lead to system failure. Dynamo maintenance team is not responding to service call. Rerouting request to central command. Okay, well, that sounds cool enough, I guess. Alright, so we want to... What do we want to do? There's a boss in here. I can tell you that much. It's an interesting boss because, as you can see, it's invisible. There's actually no scan for this boss. It's the only boss you have to fight, kind of traditionally. It's an invisible drone, and you literally cannot see it at all. Which makes it kind of tricky. It's actually a lot easier, I find, on the Wii version than it is on the GameCube because of the free aim. But yeah, it's interesting. It's the only one of its kind in the game. And I guess it's kind of a mini-boss, but there's no scan for it, which is interesting. It's one of the very few things that you can fight. I think the only thing that you can fight that doesn't have a scan. And here is our new item which we're trying to get. I wonder what it could be. I like the way it fades out the geometry that's like over the top. That's a cool little touch. Okay, we want to go that way. Maybe we want to come through here. Whoop. It's all in the timing. Just sneak our way through here. I think it's cool too, like by splashing water it actually disables the, it interrupts the electricity, which is a really, really neat little touch, I think. Quite a clever little mechanic. Once again, only used in this part of the game. I would think you need to go that way because that's where the thing is, but no. Gotta go the long way. You don't actually get that much damage from these things. Again, hit's not a big deal. But here we go. Power bomb acquired. While in mothball, press down on the D-pad to release a power bomb. Power bombs can destroy tougher materials. Additional data, blah blah blah. So, this is our new weapon, which I'll be showing off quite a bit in the next episode, I believe. It's going to open up a few new areas for us. But for now, I'm going to save and call it a day, so thanks for joining me. Sorry again that this was a longer episode. I hope you didn't mind. I think it might be the longest one in the series. I guess we'll find out. But anyway, thanks again for hanging around, and I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.